Good evening, everyone. This is Heisenflay, reporting back again. Finally recording again after my long break for most of the holiday. Finally woke up nice and early to record a video. As of recording, well, it's actually 2. It's 2 p.m. But that's very early for me. At least when it comes to recording. But yeah, enough dilly dallying. After this, I will be, much more free to like contact and whatnot. I'll be much more active on my socials because I've been working on like transferring everything to more Half Star Saberified socials. So, yeah, let's get started. Without further ado, Half Star Saber Spotlight Woundwortia Part 2. I'm going to be going over the geography I'm going to be going over the geography and then some basic terminology surrounding like the culture and like biological and mechanical parts of their anatomy. So that's what this video is going to consist of. Without further ado, let's get started. So first, we have just the entire country of Woundwortia itself. We have Koba, Woundwortia's oldest state, the Nato River, the family area. This is where a lot of the families are. We have Kanpei, the capital. Um, we, we have Yuba, basically the area where it's kind of like the slums, sort of as slum as like a Woundwardian place can get, because it's very nice. It's a very nice looking area, but for Woundwortia, it is the slums. Then we have Zum, the Tech Kingdom, uh, and we have Mount Ito, the Sacred Burial Grounds. Uh, Now, the cities within these countries. Now, I'm sorry for the incredibly low res image, but I've been holding on to a few of these images for a long time, and I just haven't been able to replace them, or in some cases let go. So for now, Cameline City in Koba is going to be just a low res image ripped directly from like a thumbnail of a YouTube video I found long ago. It was like a Edge Runner uh, OST video. Yeah, so that's what this is going to be for the time being. Yeah, so this is Camelines Koba. It is the first city in Woundwortia. Of course, if you watched the history video, which once again, link in the description, pinned comment, please watch it. It's it holds a lot of historical and cultural significance. It is a time capsule of olden Woundwortia, and as such, oh, sorry, excuse me. And as such, it has not changed. Then there's Zeta City, the first big booming city with tons of schools, factories, and bases. For a very long time, Zeta City was called Worktown Woundwortia. Yeah, so this is Zeta City. This is actually where the queen of the White Rabbit Woundworts, Tarakin, grew up. So yeah, Zeta City is also very important. Then there is Zant Mass, Woundwortia's second largest residential area with a population of exactly 6,906,211,014 Woundworts. So it's very, very, very large. Extremely large. Yeah. So, oh yes, keep in mind for this, Woundwortia is twice the size of Russia, and they do have like a bit of they do have Woundwortia does have like almost impossibly advanced technology, like just bordering on to straight up an impossibility, like a level of technology that is like unachievable within reason. Yeah, so that's what kind of allows them to have a city that is the second largest residential area that is home to 6 billion people. Then there is Zekumaru City. a city named after Zekumaru Olsen Ferrogenix, the hero of the Tau War. Zekumaru City is the headquarters of the CWRG, the conservative Woundwort representative group. As such, Zekumaru City is a mostly conservative area that reacts negatively to the presence of humans, people who wear pink, blue rabbits, black rabbits, and irregulars. Of course, you would know that there has been a bit of a history of there's been quite the history of bad blood between the blue rabbits, the white rabbits, and the black rabbits. Then there is the Nato River, the family zone. Yeah, so this is where the Nato City mostly consists of families and protoform teens. Now, a protoform in Woundwortia is essentially a Woundwort that is created in an adolescent state. It is not a practice that is widely done and has for the most part been discontinued. But it was a thing for a little bit, and as a result, there are still some protoforms who just need a place to stay and need to be taken care of and taught. And, Nato cities where that happens. In Nato City, Woundwortia's laws around nudity, which are usually lax to the point of near non-existence, given, Woundwortia's nature and culture, are very strict here in Nato City. It's almost like a different country when you go into Nato City, but for very obvious and understandable reasons. So that's the Nato River area. There goes my notifications again. I'll fix that. Yes, but 1 second. Then we have Gate City in Kanpei. Gate City in Kanpei. Gate City is a highly advanced city that is basically a glorified tech demo for the Black Order's, what's it called? Okay, let me check my notes. For the Black Order's multi-surface habitation system. Gate City's, of course, which is Gate City's defining trait. It's two 70-meter walls on the north and south sides of the city. These walls have cities on them. Yeah, the mechs and the buildings, the mechs, the people, all perpendicular to the ground. And you can easily walk onto these wall cities and just live there. Of course, a bit disorientating if you're a human, but if you've been born there and you're a Woundwort, you're fine. You're fine. Then there is Karyokode City, the capital city, the largest city, almost some 10 million people here. It's home to the White Order and the Psychomu Convergence, a massive superstructure, as you can see in the middle here. It's a massive superstructure that contains a large blue beam of light that stretches towards the sky and dissipates once it touches the jamming smoke. Of course, once again, if you've seen the history video, you'd know what the jamming smoke is and why it's there. Watch it if you don't know. The Convergence, as a construct of pure Psychomu, holds the consciousness of all who have died or have yet to live, not just Woundworts. Then we get to Hazel City, Yuba, the only home for the Blue Rabbits. Hazel City was once a prosperous city, which has now been reduced to a slum, of course, by Woundwort standards. Hazel City is now considered a cursed land by, for the most part, white rabbits. Um, now, Zalon and Gon, I think I might have talked about them at some point. But yeah, I've gotten rid of them. I think I got rid of them a while back, and I just forgot to say it. But yeah, I've gotten rid of them. They're no longer a part of it. They're all just Zoom now. Yeah. So yeah. Zoom has three cities: Cape City, Rawl City, and Odessa City. So first and foremost, we have Cape City, the Ghost City. It is mostly empty and repurposed to act as a safe zone when under siege or in case of other emergencies. As such, its only inhabitants are maintenance crews and the occasional safety inspection force. Next, we have Gon. Not Gon. We have Rawl City, otherwise known as Battle Central. Rawl City was named after one of its greatest gladiators in Black Rabbit history, Rawl Rezer Reark. After after Woundwortia's biggest mock battle, the dome was erected there. So then we get to Odessa City Zoom. It is known as the Tech Kingdom. Now, Odessa City, this is where it's the capital of Zoom, and it's also where the Black Rabbits developed various pieces of military technology that kept the Black Rabbits in the First Dismantlement War until its eventual conclusion. Then there's Mount Ito. Now, Mount Ito doesn't actually have any photos because in universe, there is no photos of it. No one can get close enough to it to get any photos because it is a sacred burial ground. It is considered sacred and of great religious importance, so no one can go there. There are guards there, but they're stationed like a few meters away from the mountain itself because no one's allowed to go on the mountain. It's one of the only places where wounds will be like outwardly aggressive with you, like regardless of who you are. You can't just step there, and it's relatively out of the way of everything else, so it's not like you can accidentally go there. So yeah, it's a pretty well secured area. But then we move on to culture. Yeah, and cultures, culture. So first and foremost, we have a little something that we're gonna start off a little crazy, a little wild. We're gonna start off with something that I've repurposed from the old Side Zero days. Um, uh, 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 um, yeah, we have anti-males, anti-females, pro-females, and pro-males. Now, I guess technically all of these are things that are repurposed from the old Side Zero days, but I like to consider but I like to consider the four at the first four things like the real like repurposed Side Zero concepts, and the bottom four things that were like maybe mentioned in Side Zero, aside from like Blue Starism. Blue Starism is definitely from Side Zero, but Blue Starism was like Blue Starism was like definitely from Side Zero, but the other things are like a lot like expanded upon in a better way in Half Star Saber, and they're a lot different and more better now. So we're gonna start off with anti-males and pro-females, An anti-male is essentially a femcel. You know, they believe that men are dangerous. Well, not dangerous. They believe that men are evil, like all of them, and not just in like the way of saying like, oh, I hate it when men do this. No, no, no. They make it clear that they believe that every single man is the problem. Yeah. So that's like the main change that I wanted to make. Yeah, that's kind of like the main change I wanted to make for anti-males here, is I didn't want them to just what I thought feminists were back then. Now I want them to be like the worst, most like ridiculously cartoonishly radical version of like a women's rights activist. Like it's something that some weird anti-woke YouTuber would say that feminism is. That's what anti-males are. Now, anti-maleism and pro-femalism it actually has a word, a better word that doesn't sound as stupid, and it's called misandry. Um, but uh, but but in Woundwortian culture, that's just what it's called. It's called anti-maleism and sometimes pro-femalism. But pro-femalism uh, is is a bit different. It's essentially anti-male light. The groups are a lot more pleasant and cordial, and they usually operate within the confines of the law. Or at least they try to. Because anti-males are genocidal and violent. Pro-females are like, just sort of like, normal. Well, normal-er. They can still be kind of turbulent, I suppose. Don't know if that's the right word to use, but yeah. This icon right here is not actually the logo of pro-females and anti-males, but is a silhouette of a character that will be important to Half Star Saber, but not in its lore, but in the actual events of the show. So I'll go over that later if I ever. So I'll go over that later. Oops, excuse me again. If I ever make a video about the actual events that take place. Yeah. We'll go over her someday. But then, this next character, representing the anti-females and the pro-males. Once again, just like that other character, they are a part of a group that represents this little sub-faction, but they are a part of late Half Star Saber, so like latter halves of it. So I guess you could say like second or third season, I suppose. Um, yeah. So anti-females are essentially like anti-males, but they hate women, believe that they're all terrible and deserve to die. Pro-males are different. They just believe that men are better than women. Yeah, but they're very cordial and polite about it, but still sort of operate outside of the law. Yeah. So that is pro-males. And anti-females. I told you we were starting off a bit crazy. And then there's pink starism. It's the code of conduct that most anti-males live by. Of course, I already just discussed it. Man bad. It's just the most sort of like ridiculous, turned up to 11 version of like anything anyone could of like. It's like the most like ridiculous and like cartoonishly like it's like the most like cartoonishly like the most cartoonish version of any kind of like mindset regarding men. So yeah, it's very much so like a cartoonish thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's the pink star way. Now for purple starism, the code of conduct that anti-females live by. Once again, just as ridiculous and cartoonish. So yeah, it's pretty much just the inverse. But now we get to the codes of conduct that are that I can say more about without giving some major spoilers. Um, uh, 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 um, yeah. So there's Blue Starism. Yeah, Blue Starism is a code of conduct developed by Iden Varsharzio and Omega. It was created in response to the Woundwort male depression epidemic. Every aspect of Phase 0 Blue Starism was created to uplift Woundwort men and reverse the generational trauma. However, this was a very male-centric system and was incredibly taxing on the women. And as a result, Iden and Omega would just pull it, and they would not, and they would be like, all right, back to the drawing board. Don't practice this anymore. So they would visit a commune led by a woman named Po and bring their findings to Valentin's Kobayashi. And she would make adjustments, resulting in Phase 3 Blue Starism. Phases 1 and 2 were pretty much the same, and they weren't too different from 3, just minimal increments of updates, basically. Yeah. So Phase 3 is more like Phase 1.3, I suppose. Phase 3, fair and just, and it would stand the test of time for almost 200 years. Then we have Red Starism, the original societal planet, the TR lands. Of course, you know this. If you watched the history video, once again, watch it. It's the inverse of Blue Starism. It was converted into a contingency plan for use specifically in the case that the roles between Woundwort men and women change, and of course, Woundwort women become generationally traumatized and need like institutionalized mass systemic help, like the Woundwort males currently do from Woundwortia. Then we have Irregulars. Irregulars are Woundworts who have left Woundwortia without permission, broken the Blue Star Code, and or become a threat to the pursuit and enforcement of peace. Now, the pursuit and enforcement of peace is essentially like it's something that Woundworts are very adamant about. It's basically like a series of texts made by Iden Varsharzio and members of the Kobayashi family in the memory of Iden Varsharzio and Omega, basically kind of like detailing what the goal of the Woundworts is, which is to spread peace and prosperity. And of course, she lists a bunch of things that stand in the way of peace, or are obstacles to peace and prosperity, or alternatively, threats to the pursuit of peace. And of course, those are things like bigotry, drug use and whatnot. So things like that. If you are deemed a threat to the pursuit of peace, you are essentially a high priority target, I suppose. They're not going to kill you since most Woundworts most Woundworts, by that I mean like the White Order and whatnot, they have a strict no killing thing. So they're not going to kill you. But you definitely are going to become a high value, not high value, but high priority target. Next is companion squads. Now, companion squads is also something that I brought over from Side Zero, but only because I thought it was very important to Woundwortia as a nation. It was kind of like part of its identity. And now I made a lot of tweaks to companion squads or companion forces. It's sort of interchangeable. There used to be a thing called comfort squads And after doing some research into a certain dictator, I realized, oh, that's not cool. Because comfort squads are basically the same thing as what that guy had. Yeah, so I came up with the idea of, so I came up with calling them companion forces and making them a bit different. So originally, companion squads back when they were just comfort squads were just groups of people, usually women, in fact always women, who usually act as bodyguards, and romantic bodyguards, romantic slash intimate partners, and emotional support for a specific person who is deemed a high risk to themselves as well as others. Um, but in recent times, they've become groups of people who are usually women, but not always women, who act as bodyguards, romantic slash intimate partners, and emotional support for a specific person who's deemed a high risk to themselves as well as others. But they also hold a high level of importance to Woundwortia as like a career path. A companion force worker is one of the highest paying and honored jobs. It has a lot of cultural and religious importance. Companion force workers are like revered as like soldiers of the Grand Goddess, which is what we're going to get to next. Yeah, so you know they can pretty much ask the government for anything within reason, and it's a job that is open to and like also encouraged for foreigners, given its high honor and high paying. But you know, companion force workers are highly trained, and they sign up. They choose to, and they do like that thing where they're like, "Are you sure? Are you really sure? Are you really sure?" Like you have to pass through like multiple layers of "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because this can get intense and it can get hairy. We want to know if you're really ready for this, because you'll be dealing with people who have nothing to lose essentially, or feel as if they have nothing to lose, or just in their minds are nothing, or have such warped perceptions of reality that they could become aggressive at any moment. Yeah, yeah, they're highly trained and whatnot. Yeah, so that's what companion forces are now. And there's the Grand Goddess and Woundwortianism, and once again, if you haven't watched the history video, watch it. But I suppose I'll give a little bit of context since it's in the note itself. I'm only going to give context if it's in the note itself, or if I just forget that I'm not giving context in a desperate bid to promote. So yeah, subsequently after sacrificing her body to bring forth the Woundworts, Woundwortia became a superpowered new type ghost, and the Woundworts made a religion around her. So now she's the Grand Goddess Woundwortia. Not Woundwortia anymore. She's the Grand Goddess Woundwortia. Yeah. She usually hangs out in the Psychomu Convergence because she'd rather have people come to her than just talk to people. Like, she can talk to people whenever she wants, even though she's basically dead. But, she'd rather people come to her because, for one, she doesn't just want to, like, talk to people out of nowhere. And two, she's also kind of an introvert, so she wants to have people, like, come up to her and initiate conversation. Yeah, so next up, we have, organizations and factions. So first and foremost, the Woundwortian Orders. Woundwortian Order is a special faction that serves as a political party and a special forces unit. So they are usually, the best of the best. That a specific like party has to offer. So the White Order, the oldest of the four orders, they are like the best of the best that the White Rabbits feel they have to offer, and So Yeah, the White Order is an order predominantly made of white rabbits. The White Order is the strongest in terms of raw power um, uh, of the orders. The White Order's members are handpicked by the Queen and her family for their patriotism, raw talent, personality, and skill in combat. Even the rookies are some of the most efficient and deadly soldiers in all of Woundwortia. Currently, 60 members are in the White Order, and every member does something special or has some kind of special feature that sets them apart from other Woundworts. Um, so, 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 so then there's the Black Order. The Black Order is the youngest of the four orders. Uh, as the two Black Rabbit Woundwort species, Woundworts and Psychoblades, are the youngest of the three main Woundwort species. Of course, Black Rabbits, technically aren't like a naturally occurring Woundwort species. Well, they are now, but when they came to be, they were originally being made, out of white and blue rabbits. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, while the White Order is known for its might, the Black Order is known for its ingenuity and intellect, and as such, the Black Order is much smaller in terms of member count, but it does have quite a bit of highly advanced and robust military, medical, and entertainment technology. And, it shares with the other two orders and the other two species. So then there's the Blue Order. The Blue Order, formerly known as, formerly the second largest and strongest of the orders. The Blue Order had been involved in a massive conflict between the White Rabbits and the Blue Rabbits, known as the Second Dismantlement War. After the White Order had won the war, they had placed heavy sanctions and restrictions on the Blue Order, and as such, it lost most of its members and weaponry. So, of course, you'd know this if you watched the history video, the Woundwortia's history video. Once again, watch it. I'm going to keep telling you until you watch it. So then there is the Raw Order. Oh, that's back. Yeah, then there's the Raw Order. The Raw Order is an extension of the White Order, technically, but it does represent a sub-race of white rabbits known as the Raw types, otherwise known as Redesignated Aerial Hypermod, so RAH, or RAH. Yeah, so, that's basically why they're a separate order, technically. It's because they represent an entire subspecies. They are the White Order's air support and closest allies. The Raw Order consists of former White Order members who were changed into Raw rabbits, and of course, naturally born Raw rabbits. Then we've got the Rabbit's Nest. The Rabbit's Nest is one of the most polarizing factions within the White Order. It was originally started out as an Armored Corps fan club, helmed and founded by a woman named Vizov Lydenga Varsazo. She is a Black Rabbit Woundwort, and she was often referred to by close friends as Last Raven. The Rabbit's Nest grew tremendously in the days following the Second Dismantlement War and the subsequent racial conflict. Many Blue Rabbits fled to Kanpei and a few joined the White Order, and then subsequently joined the Rabbit's Nest, since it was, helmed by, of course, someone who was considered a progressive Woundwort, or, progressive Woundwort. Because Woundwortia, as of the, as of the beginning of Half Star Saber, they are having, a racial conflict and a conflict between Woundwortian progressives and Woundwortian conservatives. No, I'm not exactly trying to mirror real life too much, but to an extent I am. I would like to start a few conversations with Half Star Saber. You know, maybe open people's minds a bit. But that's a bit of a pipe dream. That's in the future. Um. Uh. Okay, where was I? Um. Yeah. So the Rabbit's Nest uh became the most inclusive of the White Order subfactions, and therefore a source of discussion, ridicule, and at times even a target. Then there's the Half Star Saber, a companion force belonging to Prince Kabbalist Wu Kobayashi. The Half Star Saber has a long history and almost 100 members. I think like exactly 96. Uh, yeah, 100 members from all over the galaxy. Kabbalist's ranks consist of two species mainly, Kansen and Nike. Um, yeah, which makes the Half Star Saber the largest and most diverse companion force in Woundwortian history. Yeah, but not exactly beating out the Rabbit's Nest, given the amount of different kinds of people are in the Rabbit's Nest as opposed to the Half Star Saber. There are only two other species, but the Rabbit's Nest has a bunch of other people and a bunch of different like kinds of Woundworts. And the Rabbit's Nest and Half Star Saber are intertwined anyways. Cabalist is a part of the Rabbit's Nest, and he was like before he really got the Half Star Saber started. Yeah, so then we have the Crusaders. The Crusaders are Equestria's elite mech pilots. They boast incredible combat prowess both in and outside the cockpit. The Crusaders are led by Sweetie Belle, a half Woundwort and Equestrian, half Equestrian. Well, just half Woundwort Equestrian. She's mixed. She's mixed species, but she looks like an Equestrian. Uh, she's a natural born leader who loves singing and helping those under her. The Crusaders were trained personally by Prince Kabbalist and operate under an entirely different chain of command from any Woundwortian equestrian military faction, given its unique nature. Then we have the Blue Hearts, a Blue Rabbits' rights group that started by the Arjed family after the Second Dismantlement War. The Blue Hearts has an extremely small military force that is confined to using physical weapons like assault rifles, bazookas, missiles, heat blades, and chainsaws. The Blue Hearts are known for surviving every operation by the skin of their teeth, to the point where some theorize if they had no sanctions placed upon them, and they could use whatever weapons they wanted to, and could have access to the same technological advances that the White Order has, that they could rival the White Order in sheer might and will alone. Then we get to the Enforcers. The Enforcers are Woundwortia's law enforcement and emergency workers. They are partial to none of Woundwortia's orders, and they are only loyal to Woundwortia's core ideologies and the Grand Goddess. The Enforcers have two divisions, Force and Aid. Aid sees most of the action, and they take care of anything that doesn't concern violent criminals with weapons and a history of violence. The Force Division, however, does handle those. And of course, any situation where lethal force is authorized. And you have to go through quite a few hoops to get lethal force authorized in Woundwortia, since, as I said, the majority of Woundworts have a pretty strict no killing thing. So it takes a lot to get lethal force authorized, and I mean a lot. Yeah. The Enforcers are not I put led here, but they're not led by this person. They are represented in the White Order by this person. since there is a member of the Enforcers who represents since there is a member of each order who represents the Enforcers and the SCC, but the SCC is after the Enforcers. The representative of the Enforcers is led by Schrazer, a white rabbit who managed to use Woundwortian surgical technology to alter her race illegally. She used to be a blue rabbit, but now she is a white rabbit. To avoid a regular hood, because she did something illegal that would be considered, a form, some kind of bigotry towards oneself, I suppose. She wanted to keep her new body, so she accepted the punishment that was thrown her way of starting at the very bottom of the Enforcers and having to work her way up in order to gain the status that she so desired by changing herself to a white rabbit. Yeah, and of course, that would be very difficult given the amount of Enforcers the Enforcers. Yeah, so then we have the SCC, which, once again, dipping into the crazy, the wild, the Board of Sexuality, Care, and Comfort. I guess maybe not that wild. It doesn't feel too wild to say anymore. But they are a highly respected and prestigious organization that has authority over many subjects in Woundwortia. Many aspects of Woundwortian society, such as healthcare, sex ed, companion forces, decency laws, school curriculums, and even certain aspects of business. The SCC is led by 3 Woundworts who are chosen by the public and are believed to represent one of the 3 main focuses of the organization. First, there is Resta, the SCC chairwoman of Division S. She represents Woundwortia's open and free-spirited nature and cares a great deal about the free expression of one's own sexuality. Einschladen, the head of Division C1, is a deeply emotional and caring person, and she has a very difficult time comprehending indifference and apathy. Blitzen is the one in charge of Division C2 and tasked with making sure that everyone is comfortable in as many situations as possible, and of course, she has a lot of control over companion squads and whatnot, and who gets assigned to who. Of course, she has assistants as well. Blitzen herself is kind of a people pleaser, and feels as if this position was the reason she was placed on this earth. And the 3 that are the 3 heads of the SCC are equal in authority to even the highest ranking Woundwortian military members and the government representatives, and they can even contest the Queen directly if need be. Okay, now we're in the final stretch. We're going on to anatomical terminology now. Alright, so I don't have a visual for this first one, which I suppose, given what it concerns, you might be glad. We have inner parts. Us, we would call them like innards or insides or organs, I suppose. But inner parts is a blanket, in Woundwortia, is a blanket term for the tongue, the skeleton, the organs, the muscle tissue, and the bodily fluids. Basically, any and all organic material within a Woundwort's body is considered inner parts. Then we have new types. A new type is a person who has the ability to feel the emotions of others in a vivid way. Stronger new types have powers including telekinesis, mind reading, telepathy, and the ability to use special weapons like fin funnels. Psychoframe and Psychomu, a material which amplifies which amplifies new type abilities. Sometimes it can trigger a fight or flight response in non-new types, while instilling a sense of bravery in other new types within a close radius. So as you can see on the far left, there is the pure Psychomu. Like that's how it would look if you were in the mines mining for it and you pulled it out of a rock, kind of like this sort of diagonal, shifty shape. It's kind of the same shape as the Psycho frame in the Unicorn Gundam's knee. That's how I imagine purified Psychomu. That's how I imagine it looks. Of course, then in the middle, you have of course hardened Psycho frame when it's concentrated and ready to be placed onto or into something. When it's ready to be utilized. Then there is Psychomu on the far right, which is many uses, but it is mainly used as the lifeblood of all Woundworts. It can also be hardened into Psycho frame, but not vice versa. So once you harden it into Psycho frame, it is just Psycho frame. The closest you could get to turning it back into Psychomu is just smashing it into little bits until you have just a fine powder. But that's hardly close to a liquid. Oh, that's back. Then we have TR nails. As fellow Advanced Zeta fans might know, if you spend as long as a time staring at these images and the beautiful illustrations of the great Fujioka Kenki, as I do, you would know that TR mobile suits, or in the Half Saber case, mobile soldiers, have a especially the TRs, they have these red fingertips that in the official continuity they act as advanced sensors for data gathering. But in the Hss Saber, they have a different use. Yeah, they are called TR nails and are a set of pearlescent crimson talons that sit on the fingertips. And there are multiple different types. The Superheated Combat Model 1, the Razor Sharp Combat Model 2, the 3D Printing Model, and the Stain and Crack Resistant Aesthetic Model. So they can all do multiple different things. Yeah, so the aesthetic model is essentially super smooth. Yeah, it basically looks like it basically looks like our fingers, but without the nail. Instead of the fingernail, it's just skin with the beginning of the crimson TR nail, and then of course the fingertip and a little bit of the bottom of the finger itself, where the gripping pads would be, as you can see here. Those are also red and hard like a fingernail. They don't really have much of a cuticle though, so there's no it's just sort of like the TR nail and then the skin. Yeah, so yeah, they can do multiple things, but either way they look very nice. Here's another photo. It's a bit lower res, but it's still legible. Then we have the section I'm the proudest of, the different kinds of ways Woundworts can look. So first we have Originator class Woundworts. Yeah, so Originator class Woundworts are Woundworts that look identical to the 7th of the first 9 Woundworts, Iden Varsharzio, who looks identical to Woundwortia, the Grand Goddess. Originator classes are commonly referred to as Tara clones by non-Woundworts because the White Rabbit Queen, Tara Kanu Kobanyashi, is an Originator class. And as you can see here, the differences between between the different originator classes. So of course we have Aiden Varsharzio, the average originator, and Tarakan Kobayashi. I thought I turned those off. My notifications again. Yeah, we the average originator, standard colors. Aiden Varsharzio has like a bit of a flatter, sort of like straighter edge, sort of like going on, like sort of like Edna mode. And Tarakan, she her colors are like more vivid and her the fairer skin on Aiden and the average originators are more like are more like are more of like a beigey, like a pinky beige, and of course the gray is a darker black, and the standard blue is a bit more of a darker ocean blue. Yeah. Then, of course, we go to white rabbits. There are a myriad of ways white rabbits can look, but white rabbits are the first of the Woundworts. They are usually fair-skinned, uh, with either animal ears or horns. They they have bright blue eyes and purple inner parts, and they're considered the majority race in Woundwortia, with a population of in and around 10 billion. Not 10 billion, 20 billion, sorry. Um, oh yeah, I think I said this at the start, but yeah, keep in mind, Woundwortia, twice the size of Russia. Um, so it's still a bit ridiculous, but with their almost magic level of technology, they make it work. Yeah. So from on the far left, we have, of course, yeah, like from left to right is like most to least common. So of course, you know, darker skinned darker skinned white rabbits are a bit less common. Um, Silver hair is a bit less common. And of course, white hair. There are like white hair and like fair skin. Like you are not born as like with a woundwort as a woundwort. You are not born with white hair and actual pigmentation in your skin. That's not something that happens at all. It's something that is given to woundworts that have undergone an intense modification that has permanently altered them, like Zekumaru. Of course, I'm not going to explain what that augmentation was because you need to watch the history video. Yeah, so yeah, that's what the white-haired one is. Now we move on to to the ones without pigmentation in their skin. Now we have black hair, no skin pigmentation. That is very rare. It's incredibly rare. There are only like a few million with that sort of style, but it's quite common. Well, not quite common. It's quite common amongst the rarer ones. But then we have, white hair. White hair, no skin pigmentation, which is much less common. It's the latter three are almost held in a bit of in a bit of are almost held kind of higher in society because they're seen in a very like religious way, because these are the white rabbits that are actually white, so they're seen as a pretty good representation of their people. Yeah. So yeah. Then there's no skin pigmentation, blue hair, much rarer. We jumped from like a few million to a few thousand to at most at most 100. At most, there are 100 of them, and it's just an incredibly rare kind of white rabbit. Then, of course, no skin pigmentation with purple hair. Very, very, very rare. Like at this point, they don't even know how many they are, but they know that there couldn't be more than a dozen. There are a few characters with purple hair, but they are fair skinned. Therefore, Therefore, they were either born with that purple hair, and that is starting to be, and that is another reputation that they need to start keeping track of, or they modified their appearance to get that hair, because appearance modification and like body modification, it's all like very common, and it's very commonplace standard practice in Woundwortia. So it's possible, but people don't just make themselves look like these rarer types of Woundworts because of their like religious and cultural significance, and also scientific significance as well. Like it's important that they're documented. But then we move on to black rabbits. Black rabbits are technically two kind of Woundworts, as you can see here. Woundworts and Psychoblades. Woundworts usually have a gray or black skin, green eyes, and orange inner parts. While Psychoblades have white skin, well, no skin pigmentation, black hair, multicolored eyes, and black inner parts. They also have a long, sharp, like razor sharp, champagne gold horn sat in the exact middle of their forehead. It's made out of pure Psychomu and amplifies their new type abilities. It's their namesake. It's called the Psychoblade antenna. But as you can see, the Woundworts, the Woundworts, sorry, on the left and right, the Woundworts on the far left, no, on the far right and inner left are the two common types of Woundworts. Meanwhile, the one with the silver hair and orange eyes is the rare type. That is the rare type. I also will say that despite how I've had the white rabbit set up, it is very rare for a Woundwort to have hair that is a darker color than their skin. That's very rare. Yeah. And also, yeah, I'm also having these like set up in a way that it has like the various combinations. Like these aren't like set combinations per se. There are rare type Woundworts with silver hair and orange eyes, but that's not every rare type Woundwort. Sometimes it's like the darker one, but they have orange eyes, or the darker one, but they still have green eyes but silver hair. It's still possible. And there are also Psychoblades. There's like one case of a Psychoblade that wasn't fully transitioned. They botched the modification, and they just ended up being a Woundwort with red eyes. I don't have that shown here because it was only one, and it was pretty quickly fixed. But it's a little piece of history trivia that will come up in the series. And I wanted to share it here because I just sort of I like talking about this sort of stuff. Yeah, it's just fun to me. Then I also sort of had a specific way that I wanted the Psychoblade to look, but I decided on making it an actual like horn, and having it sometimes sort of like try and like take this shape, like some Psychoblades, their horn sort of like takes a different shape. It sort of like has like little spikes that sometimes, you know, look like wings, and you know some like have like this fully formed version of the horn, but it's just sort of like based on genetics. Then we get to blue rabbits. Blue rabbits are the only other natural Woundworts, because black rabbits are the result of modifications. So they're the only other natural Woundworts. So it's white rabbits and blue rabbits. They're the natural types. They are either dark purple or navy blue. Sometimes they are light purple, as you can see. Sometimes their hair is a reddish purple. They have turquoise eyes and turquoise inner parts. I neglected to color the eyes properly, but that's on me. I will fix that, and I will fix that, and you know I'll do better in the future. As with most Woundworts, their hair is usually a shade darker than their skin, and they are considered the minority race with a population of 980 million. Yeah, so these are the common to uncommon types, left to right. Yeah, so left is most common, right's least common. Of course, as you can see, some do have like reddish, reddish purple, almost kind of like a pinkish purple. Yeah, I think it's very good. I think I did a very good job with these. But then we have the special rarer types, which I think I might need to zoom in because of how dark the colors are. So yeah, we have, as you can see, I fixed the issue and actually made the eyes like a light blue, like turquoise color. So yeah, this is just solid navy blue. It's the most it's the least rare of the rare types. Then we have this blue rabbit, a darker shade of navy blue, I believe, and and I was sort of inspired by the color scheme of the Advanced Zeta version of the Jim Quell. The eyes are green and the muzzle is white, kind of like mimicking how like the AOZ version of the Jim Quell had like little white bits on the feet. So I wanted to emulate that. Then we have the one that I'm the most proud of. This one, the second rarest of the rare blue rabbits, sort of based on the Gym Type CRs, those Gym Type Cs that were a part of Advanced Zeta, like the Gym Sniper 3 and whatnot. So it was based on their color scheme, but I think it's really good. I really like it. It's that same shade of navy blue, this time with the typical Titans test team like line of orange separating the navy blue from the desaturated purple, with that same color being used for this sort of like eyeshadow. Not really eyeshadow. You see, Woundworts, they don't actually have eyelashes. They essentially have thick skin, usually black skin around their eyes that serves a similar function to eyelashes, which is eye protection, keeping crap out of their eyes. So Woundworts have thick skin that do a similar, just have like thick eye skin that does a similar job. But for these blue rabbits, that skin is this shade of orange. But there's also another Woundwort thing that I have here where there's this sort of like orangey yellow lipstick. Now, I have been doing this thing with my Woundwort characters lately where they have this sort of like natural lipstick, and like it doesn't smudge on their faces when like wiped or anything. You can't like wipe it off no matter how much you do. It'll stain your finger. If you like take your finger to her lips and like wipe it, you'll have the orange on your finger, but the orange won't smudge across her face or anything. It'll just come off. But it's like almost as if there's like an infinite amount of layers, and I don't exactly know what to call it. I was thinking like lip paste or lip film, but those both sound a bit gross. So, yeah. Then we move on to the next one. This one is based on the actual like Titans color scheme, like not the Titans test team color scheme, like the one from like Zeta Gundam, not Advance of Zeta. So yellow eyes, yellow lipstick, yellow lip layering, I suppose, and this sort of like red eye shadowing, eye skin, I guess. Yeah, red eye skin. I'm thinking like, yeah. I'm thinking like maybe calling the skin around their eyes the guard dermis or something like that. Guardian dermis or something like that. G dermis. Yeah. Red G dermis. We're going to call it G dermis. I'm going to add that to the list of anatomical terminology. G dermis. Yeah, so those are the rare blue rabbits. I just wanted to zoom in on them and go like more into detail because I'm really proud of how I translated each of the color schemes onto their faces. And as for like the lower body of these two, I imagine that for this one, the white would go down to the neck and kind of like stay in like a thin line on like the chest, and then stop once it gets to like the top of the stomach. Meanwhile, this would stop here at the jaw. Well, not stop here at the jaw. It would like stop at the bottom. It would stop at the bottom of the neck. Meanwhile, somewhere down the line, like somewhere like down the body, like maybe around the waist, there would be another orange line, maybe at the bottom of the ribs, and it would start another area of lighter purple. That's how I think the rest of the body would look. But I'd have to sketch it out to get a feel for it, which will take me a while. But I definitely will. And you'll have to remind me too. I definitely like you too. Then we have hypermods. Once again, I want to focus in on them because I think I really did a good job with the hypermods. I think they're really cool. Yes, so the hypermods are so the hypermods are Woundworts that came to be via repeated and intense mass modification of a large group of Woundworts. So usually like 40,000 at the least. We have the Baronites, which are based off of the OC like color palette made by another artist named Bakaneko, and their OC Coco. I really like the color palette, so I really wanted to use it. So check them out because they're a really good artist and they made a really cool character, and their color palette is really cool, and it's well, I would say not inspired per se, but yeah, it is directly lifted from Coco. And all Baronites look like this, like save for one. There's like one light-skinned Baronite, but other than that, they are all dark-skinned with black sclera, red eyes, and white hair. That is how they all look. Then there are Tauwarts, who all have no skin pigmentation, with red hair and red eyes. Of course, Tauwarts. Watch the history video to know what Tauwarts are to get the gist on them. Yeah, then there are the Enforcers. We talked about them earlier. Enforcer warts. They have flashing red and blue eyes, so the eyes alternate between red and blue. This little gradient here, it circles around, so like an actual like police right, wee. And since Woundworts are born with a full head of hair, Enforcers are born with a hairpin, like a hair accessory that also flashes between red and blue. This one's the Double Zeta Gundam logo, and it flashes in the two Z's. They flash between red and blue. Of course, only in combat mode though. Only in combat mode. If they were constantly flashing between red and blue, that'd be held to animate for I think anyone, especially during a fight scene. Then there are raw rabbits, of course, the air types of Woundwortia. They are, the sky fighters. They're made smaller to adapt to G forces, and they can fly in atmosphere, unlike any other Woundwort, who can just use their thrusters, but will have a hard time actually flying and engaging in aerial combat and dogfighting and whatnot. They have yellow eyes, a bit more of a darker yellow, and they have silver hair and no skin pigmentation. Then we move on to the more mechanical aspects of like anatomical like terminology. We have TR, which stands for trans reverse. it is the name of a special system installed in every TR mobile soldier that allows them to convert other mobile soldier parts to TR compatible technology or just create new parts. As you can see here, this is the use of the transverse system, is what allowed, these various variants to come to be. Yeah. So yeah, there's that create new parts bit going on. These feet, they don't belong to any other mobile soldier but the Hazenflay. Actually, no, wait. Yeah, these feet are different because, look, they end a bit earlier. They're not as long. Yeah, so yeah, they do create parts at times. So yeah, then there is boost movement. This image is very small and horrible looking, but I'll increase the page size for you. Yeah, this is a little this is a screenshot from Armored Core Asset Management, which you should watch, by the way. I mean, if you have Amazon, though. If you don't want to support Bezos, I get it. Yeah, boost movement is movement that utilizes the average Woundworts back and thigh-mounted thrusters. So as you can see, back-mounted thrusters and some thrusters that are on the second calf, I guess, since these are reverse joints. Yeah. Yeah, then there's Psycho Movement. It's boost movement that utilizes a White Rabbit's Psychomu engine, which is just like a special engine that it's just a special engine that uses Psychomu, obviously. Can you tell that I'm stalling? I sure hope not. Yeah, because I messed up my my list, and I'm fixing it. Yep. So yeah, just 1 second. There we go. All right. Yep. Now for overhead movement is maximum output psycho movement, which just it's just like it maxes out it just pushes it to its limit, and the blue exhaust turns purple. Then there's assault generators. This, I believe, is the Aaliyah generator from Armored Core 4 and 4 Answer. And it looks the closest to what I believe the assault generator would look like, just maybe not as long, but still coming to that same point. So an assault generator is located on the behind the heart and has a higher output than most generators, and but extremely high heat. So you need a good radiator for it. I should have included radiators here, or heat sinks, because those are both in Woundworts. They have hatches with heat sinks underneath, and radiators in radiators / heat sinks in the back of their throats, which is why the inside of their mouths can glow, which I believe I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, so next we have what do we have next? Okay, we have the ZetaNet and Cisnes. This image is unrelated, but just there so that but it's just there because ZetaNet it is slightly related to ZetaNet. ZetaNet is the network of which all Woundworts are connected to. They use this network for spreading information, developments, battle strategy, mind reading, memory scanning, and World Wide Web usage. Of course, since the days of Side Zero, I had to scale ZetaNet and Cisnes back because it was a bit too OP. Limit the extent to which to which Woundworts could spread and access information and access the World Wide Web. They can only access the Woundwortian version, which has a lot of things that are like banned in the Western world, but not everything. Not enough to be privy to absolutely everything that's going on. So they're still like shut out from the rest of the world in that way. So then the Cisnes, which I've been talking about, the spine integrated Zeta Net interfacing system, a system that allows Woundworts or anyone that's been implanted with a Cisnes to customize their HUD, alter their appearance, change their build, which means their weapons, and or armor, and access foreign systems and databases. So that's ZetaNet and Cisnes. Of course, accessing foreign databases and systems and databases, that's of course limited. But there is a specific kind of Woundwort that can access foreign systems and databases and manipulate them too, pretty much unlimited. And those are called cyber psychos, and I am thinking of another name for them since cyber psycho is a thing that's already, taken. But cyber psycho is the name that I have for them for now. Cyber psychos can do that, but cyber psychos will come up in the conversation a lot later down the line. And by a lot later down the line, I mean like another video later down the line. This one's already long enough. Next are hard points. So this picture was also related to the next talking point. Specific attachment points that can be used to affix all sorts of equipment, weapons, or even extra limbs. As you can see, even though this is like of the actual Woundwort mech, Woundworts in Hss Saber come apart in a similar fashion. The drum frame, pelvis area, the arms, the torso, the head, the upper legs, and the lower legs. They come apart in a similar fashion. They're segmented in a similar fashion. They don't just come apart. And there's, a Woundwort kind of like curling up its limbs so that all of the hard points are exposed and able to be used. And of course, here is the development correlation chart of the TR1 Hazel Ulsla. Of course, using the hard points to attach all of these various equipment packs. I know it might be a bit hard to see. I had a higher resolution version, but I don't know where that went. So of course, as you can see, the entire sort of like TR system revolves around, hard points and whatnot. The TRs are made possible by the use of hard points. And next is I-field generators. A device installed into the wrist. That's the wrong thing. A small device located in the pelvic region of a Woundwort that creates a barrier that blocks any and all heat-based attacks. This little circular part right here, that is the I-field generator, and that blocks any and all heat-based attacks. And it's in the pelvic region of a Woundwort. Pretty much like behind the drum frame itself. Actually, that makes no sense. I don't know why I said that. It's a part of the drum frame itself. The drum frame holds like the actual generator. Well, not the generator, but like, but like, the engine and stuff like that, the operating system and stuff, and some other important things. Because there is the psycho generator and not the psycho generator, the assault generator and stuff like that, and their heart. So the generator isn't the only thing in there that counts. But yeah. The I-field is a part of the drum is a part of the drum frame, yeah, it kind of creates this like little like staticky barrier, like around the area that's like being attacked. It's like an orb around the Woundwort, but like around like near the area that's been fired upon, there is a like little staticky barrier, like TV static. I'm kind of obsessed with like staticky things. You'll like see a bit later on. And if the show actually gets animated, you'll see just how much I'm obsessed with static. In particular, red static, because it looks cool. Of course, not being shown as much in these images with the Unicorn Gundam, but that's because the Unicorn Gundam does things differently. And I kind of don't like that. But here's kind of how more so how I imagine it looking. You know, with the beam sort of like bending around it in like an orb, a sphere around the Woundwort. That's how I imagine it to look. Here's just another photo for an example. Now onto the V field generator, which I'm using this image and this image from like the early stages of from early concept art of Armored Core 4 and 4 Answer. Well, actually, yeah, just 4 to just sort of like showcase what I'm thinking of. So the V field generator is a small device installed into the wrist that after being implanted kind of like morphs and liquefies and spreads to the palm and pinky and thumb, although some Woundworts do have 2 thumbs, so it spreads to both thumbs sometimes, and once it's activated, hatches open in the hand and the wrist and in the forearm, and out of the palm itself comes a massive like Tesla coil like tree of lightning that zaps incoming projectiles and just melts them like an overpowered Tesla coil. And it caused an incredible amount of heat, and that's why I use this photo, because not only does it have like the hand extended in a way that I sort of like that I sort of think Woundworts would like, you know, have their hand extended when they're using the V field. The hand is also glowing, and this is it's the light from the blast in the Kojima field, but in terms of V field usage, it's because of how much heat is being generated. It is so heat intensive that the entire forearm is glowing. Yeah. And of course, the images below kind of like reflect what I think it would look like. This is how I feel like it would look like from the front if they were to just use it and you were standing in front. And this all kind of has like a similar sort of like electrical look, the way I sort of like. These images from Project Force, aka the early development stages of Armored Core 4. This image in particular down here, because it's blocking physical attacks, I kind of also wanted to use it to represent the V field. And it's blocking physical attacks, because the V field doesn't work on beams and whatnot. It works on like physical attacks, on like metals and whatnot. Then we have Assault Armor. This is really the final stretch. This is the second to last term. So Assault Armor is a massive electrical blast that shocks and stuns those caught in its radius, around 18 meters. It's activated by overloading the assault generator and then suddenly restarting or shutting it off once it redlines. And that's Assault Armor. Assault Armor is one of the coolest things I never heard of until the Armored Core 6 reveal trailer, and I don't know why I never thought of it sooner. It's just so cool. I really like Assault Armor, and I use it on literally every build that I make, and most of my builds are character builds, but I use it for those builds regardless of whether or not it's in character. I'm off topic, sorry. Then we have staves, which are a term for a Woundwort's lower legs. They don't end in feet. Civilian staves end in a flat end. You can see that on the far left. Enforcer staves end in a point, as you can see in the middle left. In the middle right, we have military staves, which end in 4 talons that can fold into feet. as you can see on the far right. And I didn't have enough, and I didn't have enough room to portray it, but uh, they can also just retract into the staves themselves, leading leading to just these little red bits sticking out of both ends of this part right here. And for some reason, I've never been able to draw staves right until now. And I'm glad I finally got it right. These look good, despite their simplicity. And then, of course, there is a map of all of Woundwortia, not just the actual country, not just the actual country that's mainly used in the middle. This is all of Woundwortia. And yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'm just gonna zoom in so that you can pause and take a look at your own leisure. Jeez. Um, I don't know why it's so blurry. The image was fine a while ago. I honestly don't get what the problem is. I'll post it at some point. Um, but yeah, that's it for this video. And I want to quickly talk about my inspirations for Woundwortia. Of course, first and foremost, Mobile Suit Gundam Advance of Zeta. Of course, they are the Woundworts after all. It is Woundwortia. So it is based off of the Woundworts and the portrayal of Rizeon. You know, it's very militaristic and of course sci-fi, but also kind of cutesy in that portrayal. You know, it's like the, Kenki Fujioka and his beautiful mechanical designs that have inspired me ever since I was 14. To and it's just beautiful and I love it and I wanted to make a country, well not a country but like a group of characters, a faction of characters that represents the emotions and thoughts that these images make me feel. And it's just it's beautiful, like all of these images that I'm showing you are going to capture a lot of things that that make Woundwortia. It's it's very cutesy nature, I suppose. It's love for mechs, excess and theatrics. Because you don't just do this to someone. This is purely theatrics. Woundworts are all extra for seemingly no reason. Even during warfare, they will engage in theatrics, monologue on the field. Sort of ham things up just a little bit. Kind of all just to sort of make the horrors of war less horrific. Yeah, so yeah, this art is just beautiful, and it's it's almost kind of it almost kind of reminds me a bit of Made in Abyss, I suppose. The way a lot of the characters, the human characters are drawn, and it's very nice. I like it a lot. It's beautiful, and I believe that Advance of Zeta should get a lot more coverage, and should get a lot more coverage and attention. I thought people should read it more often because there is an English scanlation of Advance of Zeta, and I have access to the English scanlation of of Volume 1. And I have the original, and I have scans of chapters 3 through 6 of chapters 2 through 6. So I'm pretty sure that's everything that's out right now in terms of actual in terms of the actual manga. And I think, if we just got, if I think if people just paid a bit more attention to it, that someone would come around and do like and, and do like a big scan and do like a big scanlation project translated to English, and of course, maybe even we'll get some comic dubs. It's certainly something I was thinking of doing. Yeah, I definitely want to do a comic dub of at least the volumes that were posted in English. But of course, I have a but of course, it has its issues. I do have trouble keeping track of who's who at times. But that's something that always happens when I watch shows and the characters aren't like bright and colorful and distinct in design. You know, this is black and white. It's monochrome, and it's to its benefit and its detriment because the monochrome, it makes all of the mobile suits look so beautiful. They look so beautiful. It looks amazing. Look at this. It is so clean and sharp and amazing. I love it. Oh my god. But this Tristan guy, it looks like a character from Eon Kid. And if you know what Eon Kid, is, you're goated. But yeah, Eon Kid actually also one of the inspirations for Woundwortia. Just anything that was kind of like a world that was that had a lot of like mechanical cybernetic people doing their own thing, making their own culture, and just mucking about. Was like something that would fuel Woundwortia, as you can see. Transformers, Cybertron, various other like just various other series of a similar sort. Yeah, all of these photos, they that I'm showing you here. Oh yeah, and this one too. Arsenal Gears by Striker Astra. All of Armored Gold 2. Like, oh god, what happened here? Oh, that's an Armored Core. That's Armored Core. Okay, yeah. So basically, yeah. All of these illustrations I'm showing you, they played a part in what made Woundwortia. Even back in the day, I knew that this is kind of what I wanted, and I didn't feel the need to change what I saw in my head when I envisioned Woundwortia. And I think that these illustrations perfectly sum it up. The love for excess and theatrics, the mechs, the contrast of how much Woundworts love militarism and whatnot, with how cute they look and whatnot, and and the fact that when it comes to their theatrics, they can take it a bit too far and go into the realm of like being a bit sadistic on the field. But of course, that's isolated cases. And like, oh yeah, I believe this is the artist right here. This is the artist for these, who made these renders. They're amazing. They're lovely, absolutely wonderful. They are on Twitter. Well, X. I'm really hoping they open a Blue Sky at some point. If Blue Sky is even allowed. I don't. No, that is definitely Chinese lettering. I'm pretty sure it is Chinese and not Japanese. Either from, I'm pretty sure it is from that general area. I don't know if Blue Sky is allowed over there. Yeah, all of this is sort of just like what I'm thinking of. Powerful, flight capable, mechanical beings. In a very like free spirited culture that sort of has like a lot of like respect towards like the strong and those who are able to duel, and also does a lot of just taking out large autonomous mobile armors and whatnot. like large autonomous battle weapons and stuff like that. Just, flying around, doing whatever, getting into little one-on-ones. That's sort of like what I like. That's sort of like a part of what I envisioned for Woundwortia. Technology, just mechs, large sprawling landscapes and the like. That is what Woundwortia was to me. And, all this concept of Rubicon 3 from Armored Core 6 and the concept of for Transformers 1 and the movie for Transformers 1 too, this and a few bits of the Forever Winter, it all just sort of like, it all clicked with me, That is what I wanted Woundwortia to be. And with that, I think I've said all I need to say for today. This video has been long enough. I highly suggest that you watch this video on like 1 to 2x speed, possibly 1.5x speed, just so that you get everything, because I do stutter and sometimes I do sound a bit incomprehensible. So make it so that this video flies past in a reasonable time, but don't make it so that I'm just sitting there saying absolutely nothing. Anyways, that is all. Next time, hopefully, the Half Star Saber Spotlight episode won't be split into 2 parts. It'll be an acceptable length. Yeah, but that's it. I've said my piece. I rest my case. That is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Believe in the sign of the Zeta, and good luck. I can't believe I flubbed my outro.